to see you. Well, now that we have a little bit of time together, this is great. Why don't we get to know you a little bit?
Sure. So my name is Erin Sykes. I am 36 years old. I'm based in Manhattan. I just completed the egg freezing process because I haven't been with a significant other in a while. And I just wanted to have kind of like that safeguard. So when I am ready, I will have some eggs.
So smart. Did you know we're the same age?
Yeah, I figured when we were chatting with Dr. Keegan, like when you're very familiar with I don't know, things that happened in certain years. And yeah, I was getting that impression.
Well, let's dive into a little bit about your actual egg freezing experience. How did you first learn about egg freezing?
I had been aware of it for quite a few years. I mean, I would say ballpark 5 years, and always said, she's to me. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'm not going to need to do that. I'll find someone. And then it got to be found and they put it at, and then, I started getting push notifications from Instagram from companies like Extend Fertility or whatever. And I didn't really open them, but it was just a visual reminder of, I should do it, and then, to Dr. Keegan from IRMS, through a friend, and she goes to bar class with my girlfriend from college. And it kind of just triggered okay, things are falling into place. I found an awesome doctor. I want to share this story. So it ended up being it's good timing. It was the winter. I wanted to do it. I didn't want to do a freezing cycle midsummer. It was January. Things just fell into place and I was finally ready to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did you go about finding your fertility clinic?
So I had originally looked into a few that my girlfriends had recommended in New York. I had one good friend who swore by NYU, and then a couple others had done other recommendations. Now, how I actually ended up with Dr. Keegan is I met her through my friend that she would work out with, and she trained under Jamie Griffo, who is at NYU and considered the godfather of egg freezing. So I was really happy that I wanted a female doctor, ideally.
Me too.
And, right, to have a female, and especially because it's an all-female practice, IRMS.
Yeah.
And I knew I'd be seeing multiple doctors because of my geography and the fact that I work between Philadelphia and New York City. So City, Hoboken, Princeton locations. Then they are with St. Barnabas, also in North Jersey. It just seemed like that was the right decision. I knew Dr. Keegan had excellent training under Dr. Griffo, and personality-wise, she was a good fit. During our initial consultation, that their egg storage facility is located directly next to the OR, and that there wouldn't be any major transportation or shipping of eggs. Which I know can be an issue.
I think, it is important to be really comfortable with your clinic and your lab, and understand that, you're not going to see the eggs once they're frozen. So knowing where they're located is kind of important.
Yes.
So let's talk about the process when you were going through it.
Sure. So the overall process was a little bit easier than I first anticipated. I was scared of giving myself the injection. I've done that before, and I'm not afraid of needles. It was more just the self-administration and the mixing of, I guess, the compounds or the hormones or whatever that was foreign to me.
Right.
And my cycle ended up being about, I think I had on day 11, but I found the Follistim pen really easy to self-administer.
Yeah.
And then when we added in the additional hormones, it was actually for it, but it was really interesting to be able to draw up your own medicine and kind of take control of the situation, which I appreciate. Now, I felt totally fine the first 6 days, and on days I got to I was a little bit moody. I might have flipped out on a couple people. I definitely noticed some water retention. But then, like day 6 of 10, we just pushed down that the retrieval procedure is super easy, 15 minutes. I was not sore afterwards. I didn't have any pain. I didn't have any cramping. And we ended up getting 8 eggs, but only 4 of them were so.
Only 4? Actually, cycle, only 4?
Yeah.
Huh. Did they have a reason maybe why the other 4 didn't make it?
I haven't heard specifically, but I do know that for our second round, we're going to change. And what I got the gist of is some strong, little bit more stimulation in order to get a higher number this time.
Oh, okay. So you're doing it around 2 for everything to work out. So that makes sense. So you're going to change the dosage and see if that helps your cycle.
Exactly. So I felt, I felt like I could handle the dosage I was at. It wasn't terribly, I don't know, like I didn't feel like it was too harsh on my system. I felt pretty normal with the exception of like the things I mentioned earlier. So I'm not really scared about going up in dosage, but especially now that I know the more of the like kind of the cycle, how you feel, not the cycle of hormones, but like the mental and the physical cycle.
Totally.
I feel much more confident having a higher dosage.
Well, and you've already been through it once, so now you know what to expect. Whereas before, maybe you didn't 100% know what to expect.
Exactly. And I actually think the more, like, what I was scared of was those injections. But what the injections ended up being pretty easy, and what was more difficult 2 weeks, where you're going to go to monitoring every other day.
Oh my God, totally.
So for that I think is more difficult because everybody is so scheduled nowadays. But then the time really seemed to fly by for the 2-week cycle.
Right. So what did you think when all the costs came down and the numbers basically got crunched? What did you think about egg freezing regarding like the fees? Like, did you have a really unique plan or savings account? Like, how did you end up affording egg freezing?
The reason I hadn't done it until I was 36 was frankly because I couldn't afford it. So I know, like, logically, I'm 31, 33, whatever, like that have a better success rate doing things before 35. But it's living in Manhattan in your early 30s. A lot of people just don't have that extra cash, between. So that was another reason that IRMS in New Jersey was beneficial for me because the New Jersey prices are slightly lower. You're between 10 and 15,000 rather than 20 of the city. And it felt like it was a little bit more like crunch time in terms of I need to set aside the time and the money or whatever now because things were not going to get easier, at 37 or 38. Right.
Totally get you. Did you try to see if your insurance would cover anything?
I did. I don't say the funny thing, but like the disappointing thing is when I originally had my first consultation with you, I was on a different insurance. So they ran that as a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan out of New Jersey, and the medications were covered under that plan. Then I changed jobs, went on different insurance, and I was with Aetna. And so once I finally found the go-to Dr. Keegan, my newer insurance did not cover the medications. So, and it wasn't something that I wasn't cognizant of that. I kind of assumed that the medications were always covered because my prior wasn't informed that there's a possibility.
Yeah, totally. You know what? That actually happened to me too. I mean, like, our stories are so parallel. It's insane. I had Blue Cross of Illinois and my meds were covered at 90%. So my first round, I was fine. But when I did round number 2, I changed jobs, switched insurance, same thing, and it wasn't covered, and I had to pay meds out of pocket. It was awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, like, I actually crossed Blue Shield insurance before, and had I known what to ask, I would have.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Hindsight's 2020.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully we can help the other women or generations after us be able to have the key components on maybe what to look for or what to ask, and maybe they'll have better coverages soon. I mean, I think the laws are shifting quite a bit right now, like with employer plans and trying to cover fertility benefits, because it is a disability, and infertility is a disability, and it needs to be recognized, you know? So I applaud.
Yeah, it's so silly how, I was just saying, it's so silly how they kind of, I guess that you were explaining earlier, like if you try for 6 months or try for a year, you know, depending on your age, how it can be completely other than being proactive about things and, you know, putting aside time for your career and planning for the future.
I know. And like, just think if we had frozen when we were in our 20s, how much better of a yield we would have got, how much less stress we would have been under the last like 10 years. But it wasn't around then, you know? So like, we're really the first generation that really gets to take advantage of this technology to its fullest degree because of where the technology has come.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I mean, who knows where it's going to be in a few more years, you know, like hopefully it just, I'm not willing to take the chance and wait for it now.
Totally. Yeah. So, I know our connection's a little shaky here and a kind of poor connection, but I think your story is so powerful. And I just really thank you so much for being really public. Like, I loved your Instagram stories. I was following them every day. I thought they were fantastic.
Okay.
And, you know, it takes us being willing to share our stories so others don't feel embarrassed by this. Like, did you ever feel like people were looking at you like, oh my God, how do you not have a partner? What's wrong with you? Or did this feel more empowering to you? Or what was your take? Because like the media's had all these different spins over the last several years that it's sort of shifting, but you're in the press and media a lot for work, I see. And so, you know, I don't know if you have like a different take on it.
I received one bit of negative feedback. I got really positive feedback from people of all ages and genders, anyone from like my parents' friends to my parents to the I used to date that would DM me on Instagram after watching the stories and say, you know, really impressed and good for you, that type of thing. So lots of great notes from girls that are thinking about doing it. So really ran the gamut. Like good. I got no bad, you know.
Yeah, I think women are just really hungry, and men too are really hungry for more knowledge about the topic. It's a hot topic, but beyond even being a hot topic, I think that, you know, women are really, they want to do this for themselves. I mean, think of all the elective procedures that we do anyways. Like maybe we get breast implants, maybe we get eye surgery, maybe we buy a fancy car, maybe we get Botox. Like, this is just one more thing. I don't know why it has to be so, you know, like put all the stigma to it. So I love that we're changing.
I feel like it's changing.
Yeah, I love that we're changing that story.
Exactly. And I think that it's, you know, generationally things are ripe, you know, so it's like it's ready for it to be the norm rather than the exception.
Absolutely. So you obviously told your parents, or it sounds like you had a discussion with your parents. How did that go over with them, being like, since we're of this different age gap?
Yeah. I mean, it went over just fine. It was like there was no pushback there. I ran into a little bit is like my mom not understanding the process or like, you know, what went into it. So it's like it's not like magic, you know. It's 2 weeks of the injections and a surgery. So like having to start really with like ground zero. She's just curious for the information, just to know, not for any pushback or any other reason. But yeah, you know, I think it all made.
My mom, same things. Like she didn't understand that I was just freezing my DNA. She thought I was like making a baby and just not having the baby. So like the concepts can really, everybody kind of needs to work on that education piece. Like we weren't taught this in schools. So it's not like, how would we know this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the like terms like IVF or whatever, in vitro, yada, yada, and people don't know that like IVF is different from freezing and what the similarities are and what the differences are.
Absolutely. Well, any great advice you'd like to give any of our listeners or people watching?
Do it as early as you can. Find a way to like set the money aside, find a payment plan, find a doctor that will work with you. Double check your insurance before you make any decisions if you're taking a new job or switching personal insurance or whatever. I mean, not to be intimidated by the situation. B, you want to feel comfortable with your doctor so you won't be intimidated by the situation. It really does. This is a situation, and a medical situation, where the doctor is super critical, and to make sure that those that you choose have experience not just in the egg freezing process, but then also in like making babies from the eggs. Like how long have they been around? Since it is pretty new, I don't think it's appropriate to go necessarily a startup situation that has no history of babies, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think you have to go with a reputable source and doctors that have the history and the experience that can do a great job, because they're going to be a better outcome overall. I mean, there's plenty of factors. And if you can eliminate some of those factors, like exactly picking a great clinic, then it just helps your situation and your money doesn't go down the tubes.
Exactly. It's not or to go with the cheapest option. It's like, it is like Botox. You don't want that, back alley deal.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Erin, it's been awesome spending a little bit of time with you. Thanks so much for just being open about your story and such a friendly, person on social media. And we'll put all of your info in the page below and in the show notes. And then if anyone wants to reach you, they can.
Sounds good. Thank you for promoting, the whole process and helping people through it.
Yeah, this is great. I love our fertility friend network that we build up, because I really feel like it's a sisterhood. I don't know about you, but like I feel like all of my egg freezing friends are like my best friends right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because we just get each other.
Similar stages of our lives. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're in the same boat.
Yeah. Like there's plenty of people out there to go to do with father my children. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's a big decision who's going to be the dad. Because it's not just a biological thing. I mean, we could get sperm donors if we wanted that. But, wanting to be a parent with you and be a team like that is the hard part. So, well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll get lucky in love, and then we can use our eggs someday or get pregnant naturally. That would be even better.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, but now I don't have that weight on my shoulders, kind of hoping or waiting for it to
happen. Yeah, totally. Okay, well, bye, Erin. Talk to you soon.
All right, thank you, Valerie.
Bye.
Bye.